Peter King about to join us. So I booked Peter yesterday. I texted him during NFL game day morning, and he's been doing this lately, and I hope he doesn't mind that I share it with my audience. But it's fun. It just gives you a window into what a delightful human Peter King is. So I feel a buzz in return on my text, and I look down, and it is Peter's number, and this is what popped up on my phone.
You know I'm free for your show. You absolutely know that I'm free for your show.
There you go. So
Peter King, Bitmoji guy.
He is Bitmoji. I mean, he is beyond Bitmoji. I think if I look at my text exchange with Peter King, who's going to join us when our radio audience returns in just 30 seconds, I've got a bear, 2 bears, a koala on my phone.
Has he used the giraffe yet?
There's a giraffe.
Yeah, the giraffe.
Oh, the giraffe's a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The unicorn.
Back here on the Rich Eisen Show. Pete Thamel's going to talk about college football. Steve Kornacki, who was awesome on Sunday Night Football Night in America last night, he's going to join us in hour number 2. And Damian Woody from ESPN, and my buddy, who I just showed to the Peacock audience, radio audience, that he's a Bitmoji responder. Thankfully, he responded positively. It'd be difficult to get a I can't do it or I won't do it response when the emoji is like a dinosaur.
As a T-Rex.
Okay. Peter King. How are you, Peter?
Rich, I don't know. I discovered that, and now I'm being totally ridiculously obnoxious.
No, you're not. It's delightful, Peter. It's great.
Yeah. Like
No,
if I text John Lynch, I don't send him one of those. I probably should. He'd get a kick out of it.
You would. You would.
But yeah, if I text Sean Payton, I'm probably not going to be sending him the the little kitten, the kitten Bitmoji or whatever they're called.
You
but
never
anyway,
know.
I have fun with it.
You do, and it's great to have you here, and I appreciate you, T-Rex or koala or bear, just agreeing to do the show as always. So I guess let's get into the story of the moment that Gregg Williams has been fired as the defensive coordinator. I just did see in the commercials break, speaking of emoji, the head slap emoji that Quinnen Williams, the one of the few Jets on defense that were drafted and are working out, he might not be agreeing with this. It was a head slap emoji from Quinnen Williams. I give you the floor on what went down over the last 24 hours at the Jets.
I mean, really, I'd say to Quinnen Williams or anybody, I mean, does it really matter? You know, I have a feeling that the outcry over the last, whatever, 16 hours or whatever, however long before they actually fired him, all they are feeding somebody to the wolves. The Jets, what can they do? They're going to fire everybody at the end of the year. What does it matter? Gregg Williams gets a 4-week vacation, and he gets a tremendous thing on his resume. He's the only defensive coordinator, I think, in NFL history to have coordinated defenses for teams that went over. The Browns in 2017, 0-16, and the Jets in 2020, 0-12. So, who knows? But, Rich, I must say that even a football neophyte who has not watched much football would ask this question. Do you mean to tell me you did not give any safety help to Lamar Jackson, who this Lamar Jackson was an undrafted free agent rookie cornerback from Nebraska going up against the most desirable, fastest receiver in this year's draft and going up against him with no chance of any help? Dude, you're out on an island with Henry Ruggs III, and good luck. And that's what the Jets said to him. It was foolish. And look, I don't root for anybody to lose his or her job, but I thought that was an awful, awful decision by Gregg Williams. Now, he makes those decisions often, and if it worked and they sacked him, sack fumble, all that stuff, everybody would be saying, oh, boy, that Gregg Williams, man, riverboat gambler. But when it doesn't work and you lose the game because of it, you deserve to be held accountable.
Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show. And let's talk about teams that are, I would say, that are closer to relevance. The Eagles, though, are dwindling in that department. And right now, as you and I are talking, Doug Peterson is meeting with the Philadelphia media after putting Jalen Hurts into the game for the Eagles, benching Carson Wentz finally against Green Bay. Hurts did not look lost at all. He actually provided the spark that's necessary. Earlier today on the radio, Doug Peterson said he still had not made a decision as to who would start against the Saints. What is going on there? And is Doug Peterson, Howie Roseman, is everybody in trouble there right now?
I don't know. That's a good question. I wouldn't be surprised if Doug was in trouble. It's a little bit sad if he is, because I think he's a good coach who, I think, in my opinion, the mistakes that he's made this year have been made because he's trying to make something positive happen. And the fact is that it's hard to make something positive happen when your quarterback and your offensive line are both terrible. And unfortunately, that is what he's dealing with this year. In my opinion, when you wake up on Monday morning and you don't commit to your quarterback, you're probably going to change your quarterback. In my opinion, too, I think it's a smart decision. And again, not that this means that Carson Wentz's Eagles' career is over, because I don't think it is. But I do think that after a while, especially in a voracious town like Philadelphia with the fans and the media, after a while, you've just got to, for kind of the mental health of your quarterback and your team, you got to try something else. That's what I would do if I were him, and I think he probably will do it.
Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show. And your history of covering this sport, your lush history, Pete Rozelle winner and so on and so forth, or I'm sorry, a McCann Award winner at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Has there ever been a 5-7 coach thrown into the mix for Coach of the Year, as Joe Judge appears to be right now, Peter?
Well, you think back to when they were 0-5, and they look like absolute lost sheep in the pasture of life. And since then, they're 5-2, and if you take the two games they lost very narrowly to Philadelphia, and they lost a game that, honestly, Daniel Jones threw away against the Bucs at home on a Monday night. They should have beaten Tom Brady. And so I think what has happened with the Giants is that you basically see, this is a team that in this one of the highest scoring, most offensive seasons in NFL history, the Giants over the last 7 weeks are giving up 19 points a game, which is fairly incredible, especially when you have very few household names, even in their own households, on that defense. So I think Joe Judge and Patrick Graham, Jason Garrett have really done a terrific job in making a non-competitive team competitive. So
I'll ask you a question that might be jumping the gun a little bit here, but the way, as you mentioned, coaches talk after on a Monday. Joe Judge said that the team would give Daniel Jones every chance to prove that he can be healthy enough to play. Does that mean there's a door open for Colt McCoy, a more veteran hand here that Joe Judge could actually turn to? Because, as you know, I don't think there's a sacred cow in with Joe Judge. That's what I've kind of learned for the first 12 weeks
Rich,
here.
You know what I think he's doing? I think he's basically saying that I am not putting Daniel Jones back in the lineup until, A, he can run around very similar to what he usually does, and B, so that he can protect himself. I don't think he is leaving the door open for Colt McCoy to beat out Daniel Jones. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Colt McCoy plays again on Sunday against Arizona, that Arizona's got to come across the country again like they did last week to New England, played poorly and lost. To me, if I were Cliff Kingsbury, by the way, I'd be watching that Giants tape, and I would be, I don't want to say the word frightened, but I would think, oh, my God, we looked at the schedule at the beginning of the year, and we were saying, oh, good, we got a trip to East Rutherford in December. That'll be good. well, all of a sudden it's not looking so good. But no, I don't think he is dangling the permanent starting carrot in front of Colt McCoy's face. I think that Daniel Jones gets the job back when he's ready.
Okay, a few minutes left here with Peter King on the Rich Eisen Show. Suss out the bottom of the NFC Wild Card race right now. I mean, the Vikings are your 7th seed. The Niners tonight have an opportunity to join the Vikings at 6-6, and then you've got a team in Arizona that is appearing to just absolutely fall apart. And I'm wondering how you look at this. You got the Bears at 5-7. The Lions at 5-7 are a completely different 5-7 because they just won to get to that mark. Walk me through with the Bucs coming off of a bye, sitting in front of this group by just one game right here. How do you suss it?
My feeling is San Francisco is right now today, even playing Nick Mullins, more of a better team to me than either Minnesota or Arizona. But again, it won't matter if they don't beat Buffalo tonight. But if they do beat Buffalo, I think we would all say, okay, they are coming back. And while they're keeping the seat warm for Kittle and Garoppolo, who will come back most likely for the last 2 games, I think they're a dangerous team right now. That team that went to LA last week and won, they have a better defense than they should have, without Bosa, and then, now getting Richard Sherman back. I think I would respect them the most if they got to 6-6. Thought it was interesting last night that Steve Kornacki, using Pro Football Focus numbers, had Arizona so much more highly respected than the Vikings, which I thought was just odd, quite honestly, because I've watched Arizona play, and I know they got to come to play the Giants, on Sunday, and then they still have 2 NFC West games left in the last 3 weeks. I don't share PFF's love of the Cardinals right now.
Well, maybe neither do I, to be quite honest with you. Or maybe they're just looking at Minnesota, who has a visit to Tampa next, and then have got a date at
they got to go to New Orleans too on Christmas.
Right. So that might be just like looking at everything considered. But if Cousins doesn't make mistakes, they have potentially the best running back in the NFL when healthy behind him or next to him, and Dalvin Cook. And this kid, Justin Jefferson, is amazing.
Good a rookie receiver,
right,
as I've seen come into the league as a rookie in years.
Exactly.
He is so smooth, so fast. He reminds me too, Rich, if you watch him, he reminds me, he's got a little bit of physicality to him that really might surprise you a little bit. He knows already when he can be physical, when he can get away with something. He reminds me of Michael Irvin a little bit. Michael Irvin was always the king of the push-off right at the last second so that nobody could see it unless you looked very, very carefully. He was great at it. And I think Justin Jefferson has a little bit of all of that in him right now. And, it's amazing, Rich, when you think about this, that Justin Jefferson basically was traded straight up, and not even straight up because the Vikings got more out of it, a 4th, 5th, and 6th round pick. But he was traded straight up for Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
And he will make less in the next 4 years than Stephon Diggs makes this year. So you say, boy, everybody was killing the Vikings for losing Diggs, and I get it. But Diggs also led to a lot of drama in Minnesota. And here's a drama-free guy at a very low cost who could catch 400 balls in the next 4 years. I'm wowed by him, really, honestly.
Last one for you, Peter King. A team is, the old Parcells axiom: you are what you are. And at 9-3, you are a 9-3 team. And in a vacuum, let's not look at the history, obviously, but in this vacuum, when you've got a quarterback not making any mistakes, 5 straight games without an interception, and you've got a two-headed monster at running back behind an offensive line that Bill Callahan is coaching and is totally remade, and a defensive player of the year candidate, and a defense that is balling out, and a head coach that is clearly getting bought what he is selling. You've got an outstanding football team. Where do you term the Cleveland Browns right now? Where do you place them?
Here's the thing with the Browns. Look, the Browns yesterday, in my opinion, basically made the playoffs. So now the whole issue is the top of the AFC obviously has 2 teams at the very top. And again, I'm not trying to get ahead of anything right now, but the biggest question about the Browns is, are they in position to be able to beat Pittsburgh and Kansas City on the road within 8 days? That's the big question, And look, I think it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, just take it in stages. If they could win one playoff game this year, if they could win, let's say, at Indy or at Tennessee or whatever, at Buffalo, let's say, who knows? But if they could win one playoff game, that is a tremendous accomplishment. And it is. But I'm trying to look ahead. And again, I'm not saying it's easy to win a playoff game, but Cleveland is playing so well right now and played so well yesterday, other than the second half on defense, that you're starting to say, is it possible that they could win more than one playoff game in January? It's possible, but I still think Pittsburgh and Kansas City in the AFC right now are a cut above.
I don't know. We said the same thing about Tennessee last year, and they won and done Tom Brady, and then went ahead and won and done Lamar Jackson. And what did Tennessee have?
No question.
They had a quarterback who didn't make mistakes, and a running game that was very difficult, and a defense that was opportunistic, and the offense could go up top when they needed to off a play-action game. It was respected because of the running game. That, to me, sounds like the Cleveland Browns. Peter?
You're right, but just remember, 6 seeds like Tennessee are rare.
Yeah.
And just because it happened in 2019, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen this year. But you know what? If Baker Mayfield throws downfield with the accuracy that he did yesterday, and if he doesn't turn it over, the Browns can win any game they play.
Peter, thanks for the time. Really appreciate everybody. Check out Football
Rich.
Morning in America. Thanks for the
All
call,
the best
Peter.
to you.
You got it. That's Peter King. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.